Vinny, all my love from South Philly. Mwah. Peace out, pal.
Vinny from South Philly.
You're watching Vinny from South Philly.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Vinny Presents. This morning, today, well, I guess it's almost afternoon here in the city of Los Angeles, where we are joined by director Michelle Danner. Michelle Danner is the director of The Italians, which holds its New York premiere at the Big Apple Film Festival Thursday, December 12th at 8:30. And it's a romantic comedy with awesome stars Matthew Daddario, Rob Estes, Penny Reeves, David DeLuise, the son of Dom DeLuise, big fan, Olivia Lucciardi, Lainey Kazan, and Abigail Breslin. So welcome to the show, Michelle. Thanks for joining us. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Doing great, thank you. And again, I'm jealous you're out there in Los Angeles, but thank you for joining us. And again, now tell us all about yourself. Tell us about your amazing projects, including, let's make sure that we touch upon all of your projects and as well as your classes. But let's start off, Michelle. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am lucky enough to do in this lifetime what I love doing, which is being a storyteller. And I grew up actually in Europe. My father opened the very, very first William Morris agency in Paris in the 60s off the Champs-Élysées. As a matter of fact, I was there last year, exactly in front of the building, where when I was a little girl, I would go and, play under his desk and watch all these, movie stars come in and talk about their careers and their dreams. So I had a great upbringing in the sense that I would, be immersed in literature and museums and walk the streets of Paris in Europe. And when I was a teenager, I moved back to New York City, which is where I was born, and studied with Stella Adler and Uta Hagen, and Herbert Bergdorf and many other teachers that inspired me and gave me a foundation. If you would have seen me when I was, in 18 in Stella's class taking copious notes in script interpretation or scene study, maybe you would have known that at some point in my lifetime I was going to teach acting, which I did. I have two schools here in Los Angeles, the Los Angeles Acting Conservatory, which is a conservatory program, and the Michelle Danner Acting Studio, which has, classes for all levels, including children and camps. And I love teaching. As a matter of fact, I'm teaching tomorrow night. I'm teaching in New York. I'm going to come to New York on December 14th and teach there a Golden Box class. I love teaching because I speak 5 languages. I also teach all over the world. And I love theater. I'm going to come to New York and see quite a few shows. And I love making movies, and I've been lucky enough to do so. I've actually had the opportunity to do one movie after the next in the last, I think, 10 years or so. So it's been quite a ride.
Well, I'll tell you, with a lot of filmmakers, and I've even gotten the bug myself, with a lot of filmmakers, it tends to be a habit you can't break. One project after another, as you strive to get more and more of that creativity out of you. But it's a beautiful thing. I mean, I love it. I think it's a great medium, and it's really is art in its purest form. You have an amazing background, and it's really nice to hear that you're able to bring the things that you've learned throughout your career and magnificent teachers, of course, and be able to now teach a new generation of people. Now, you've mentioned that you have another project that's already streaming. It's called Miranda's Victim. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, so this is a movie that I shot in New Jersey a couple of years ago. It was on film. I shot it on film with a great, cast. Donald Sutherland, who was the first actor that said yes, Andy Garcia, Kyle MacLachlan, Ryan Phillippe, Luke Wilson, Mireille Enos, Abigail Breslin played the lead, Emily VanCamp, Josh Bowman, Enrique Murciano, who I have known for a long time. He's actually one of my very first students a very long time ago. Brent Sexton. I know I'm forgetting people because it was such an incredible cast. And it was Donald Sutherland's last movie. last feature film, and I had such a great experience working with him, and I was so grateful that that happened. And the movie is about the Miranda Rights, how the Miranda Rights came about. And there had been no other, film or documentary or series that told that story. So it's actually quite educational as well.
Fantastic. What now? Tell us how. What led you to now do the Italians? Tell us a little bit about it, without giving away too much, of course. But tell us a little bit about it, how it came to be, and where the idea came from, and just the general genesis of it.
Yes, The Italians was initially a play that was brought to me by a wonderful writer, Lisa Phillips Visca. And I at the time it was right before COVID, so we weren't doing a lot of plays. It didn't look like it was going to happen. So we adapted it into a movie, and it's about an Italian family that meets for the very first time their son's new girlfriend that they didn't know about. And this is a traditional Italian family, but that lives in Los Angeles. So you can imagine how that goes. She becomes, the mother's worst nightmare. She has already been married. She doesn't eat the food that the mother cooks. She doesn't want children. She doesn't go to church. Um, so the movie's premiering, the East Coast premiere. We've been doing the festival circuit. It'll be released next year around Christmas. And we are December 12th at 8:30 at the Big Apple Film Festival in New York City, which we're very excited about because it's really fun to travel with the movie, watch it, in different cities as a festival circuit. For instance, 2 weeks ago, I was in Ojai, and that was fascinating. And tomorrow night, not Saturday night here in Los Angeles, I'm going to be at the Los Angeles International Film Festival here, screening it. So it's had its life, and we've learned a lot. And it's just a fun, movie. It's romantic comedy, family comedy, fun movie.
I could just tell it has tons of conflict in it, which, as we all know, makes a great movie.
Yes,
So
it's
again, friends that are
entertaining.
out.
Especially nowadays, how much, listen, I watch so much content. I watch edgy things, violent things. My son takes me to see all the horror movies you can imagine. But at the end of the day, what I really want to is to relax and watch something fun and light. And this is exactly what it is.
Excellent. So again, I want to encourage all my audience, my friends out there in New York, especially. I have a great audience out there. Make sure you go and support this. This sounds like a wonderful film, which I definitely think is going to do very well. Just from sounding, just the idea of it is something I can definitely uh, identify with, coming from a very Italian family. My parents are immigrants from Calabria, so I can understand.
Well, it's so funny. I actually met somebody on a train station from Calabria that invited me and said, I'm going to host you. Come. I make mozzarella and olive oil. And well, the first thing that I asked is, is there mafia there? He's like, no, there's no mafia. Come make a movie in Calabria. So it's on my list.
We just have to make sure you make a line item in case something pops up, in the budget. Um, so, okay, now you've told us a little bit about your very upbringing. So, what made you then become a filmmaker? What was your first film? What really transitioned you into becoming a director? That whole endeavor from actor into filmmaker.
Um, well, I started to study acting, and it's all at the core of everything is being passionate about storytelling. But I studied acting and then wanted to sign the paintings. I think when you direct film, you are the one that gets to sign because you make the choices, you pick the canvas and the size and the textures and the colors and the composition. So I really wanted to be able to make the vision that I had in me come to life. So that's what transitioned me from an acting place, from being an actress to teaching acting. Everybody would always ask me to coach them for auditions. That's how it started to happen. And then I started to teach. And then I started to just really want to tell these stories. And when you do it on film, you reach so many people. It's a very big classroom. So, although I love the intimacy of a classroom with 40 people as well, but so that's how the steps, appeared. It was, I just love what I do. I love being on set. I love actors. I love the collaboration. I love all of that.
Yeah, you mentioned you had great. I mean, probably the best coaches around, Uta Hagen and Stella Adler. Can you tell us a little bit how the two of them really influenced your early years?
Well, Stella, I like I said, I always loved literature, and there was a class that she taught, and she script analyzed Tennessee Williams, which has always been one of my favorites. Matter of fact, I named one of my dogs Tennessee. And Arthur Miller, I always talk about all my sons, especially now, with what's happening in the world. I loved the theme of what Arthur Miller wrote about. Strindberg, Ibsen, Chekhov, all the great writers. I've always loved writers, contemporary writers. Tracy Letts, I've loved that play. I mean, there's just so many. Pinter, and she would script analyze, and that has influenced me quite a lot. That inspired me. Uta Hagen would do all kinds of exercises in her class. I remember seeing very well-known actors today were there, practicing scales. Um, they all had different techniques, and a lot of acting teachers, at the time were dogmatic. They were, this is the only way. And I always saw value in everything. I went, oh, this is great. Oh, yeah, oh, yes, that's. So I feel like I never limited, I didn't want to limit myself to thinking that there was just one way to do it because it's art. And so therefore, having also studied Sandy Meisner, he talked about the golden box. I've always believed, my philosophy is that every actor should develop their own very unique golden box, their toolbox, where they have the key and they put, tools, insights that they learn from different techniques, lessons that they learn when they're on set or on stage, and then life lessons go in the toolbox as well. And all that comprised a very unique golden box that every actor should have.
And for those that may not know what that means as far as golden box, that would mean basically life experiences and things that you learn that are significant that you put in and you take out when you need them.
But also tools on how to create a character, how to break down a script. Like if somebody, offers you a part in a movie or a TV show or on stage, that you would know how to approach it. Tools that would help you on how to, make a character come to life.
Right. It's essential, of course. So what are some challenges you face or have faced that maybe you've learned some really big lessons from as far as being a director and being a filmmaker? Anything significant that sticks out that maybe someone who's starting out could use?
Well, of course, I always would like to have more knowledge. Yesterday, I went to a dinner with this famous actress in Turkey. She's wonderful. I call her the Meryl Streep of Turkey. And my son, who graduated from USC and studied film and theater, and they started to talk about all these movies that I had not seen. And they were both like on fire. And I thought, oh, send me that movie, send me that movie. So now, as soon as we're done talking, I'm actually going to put it on my list of movies because I have a list. It's like I didn't see that, and I didn't see that, and I've heard of that, but I didn't see that. Oh, yeah, I know about that. So, I'm always frustrated that I can't watch enough or read enough because I remember, because I had my schooling in France and I studied Latin. I had a teacher, very beautiful woman. She looked like Marilyn Monroe, except she would smoke a pack of Gauloise cigarettes, French cigarettes a day. I could see her smoking on the playground. And she was like, read, because if you don't read before you're 17, you won't read till after you're 70. You'll be too busy living your life. Read. And I remember that message stayed with me. And I have to tell you something. I have so many wonderful, well, you can see books here behind me. And I have many books in my bedroom. And I do find time to read, but never enough time. There's never enough time, especially after you have kids. Because I always say once you have children, you are fucked. You can bleep me, but in a wonderful way. Because you're always, like my children now are going to take a train and go this weekend to San Diego to see this this Japanese animation convention. And of course, even though I know the train is safe and I know it's going to be fine, my heart is in my hands because that's what happens when you have children. But you know what? I also will take the opportunity to read more this weekend as they're not here.
Well, that also happens when you're a good parent. So let's make that distinction. And I know my mother's the same way, so it's very good. And I'm the same way with my children. So um, now when this idea presented itself with the Italians and this was brought to you, what was your impression? What was your thoughts?
Well, my mother's Italian. I didn't mention that. She was born in Italy, Milano, and I vacationed extensively when I was a child in Italy. I always loved Italy, everything about Italy. As a matter of fact, when they offered me to go direct a movie, and I was there in April and May of this year, a movie with Andy Garcia and Toni Collette and Alex Pettifer and Eva Di Domenici called Under the Stars, a romantic comedy. I immediately said yes because they had me at Puglia. As a matter of fact, I'm reordering that famous coffee. You can't get it on Amazon called Quarta that I've loved. I love everything that is Italian. So this movie that I have coming out called The Italians, you can imagine the very last card of the movie, I think will tell everybody why I wanted to make this movie. It says at the very end, for my mother, Loredana. Um, it reminded me of her. I mean, when we sat down at dinner, I had a wonderful, loving family. Love it was at the core, but it didn't mean that, they weren't volcanoes that erupted all the time. And I always said that when we sat down at dinner, the spaghetti was going to fly. We just didn't know exactly at what point in the dinner, it was going to. So, yes, there was always some wonderful, storms going on in my house. It was a real Italian family. So it's an homage to my family. But so many people have come up to me, as I said, as we're doing the festival circuit, and they said, I know this is an Italian family, but this reminds me of my family. And people came from me from, Jewish families and Asian families and, Russian families. So many different families came up to me and said, this reminds me of my family. So family, the idea of family is universal.
It's so true, and you'll see. I mean, as I'm sure you already know, you see a lot of similarities in other cultures that have that same orientation towards family centric. Everything's about very European. Well, not just European, but especially European. It's there's significant weight on the passionate family nucleus. So again, now we're going to be in New York, and let's tell everybody again. That's going to be December 12th, Big Apple Film Festival, The Italians.
Yes.
And is there anything going on that you want to recommend they visit your website? How could they find you and your future projects?
Yes, yes, yes. So there's the Instagram, Michelle Danner LA, Actors International. Those are the Instagrams. On the website, it's michelledanner.com, the Los Angeles Acting Conservatory. And if you want to know about all the films that are upcoming and that are being released, it's All in Films.
I look forward to seeing your work and hopefully one day meeting you. But in the meantime, been such a pleasure to have you on this program. I know my audience is going to love it, and I can't wait to hear the feedback from it all. And I wish I could make it up there. There may be a chance. Let me see if I can move some stuff around. But if I
Let
can't,
me know.
I
Yeah.
definitely will support you.
Thank you.
Let me see if I can play hooky from work without nobody knowing.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Today we have blessed to have wonderful director Michelle Danner. You've been a blessing to meet you. I love just everything. You remind me so much of that same little passion from my mother and from her little village in Italy. It brings back a lot of memories when you talk about some of these things. And I'm just excited for you and excited for this project. So again, everybody, make sure you are following and supporting her. We're going to have a link to her websites in the description box. So please support Ms. Danner here, wonderful person. And if you get a chance, please take some of her classes if you're in the area where she has them. And for now, our guest has been Michelle Danner. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you too. We'll see you again.
Bye.
Thank you.